Hey guys, I want to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit on what actually happens when I channel for someone, because it's not what most people picture, and understanding it makes it significantly more useful. Most people come into this kind of a session with some version of a movie image in their heads: dim lighting, someone going into a trance, speaking in a different voice, maybe some dramatic revelations about past lives or future events. And while channeling absolutely can look different for different channels, what I do and what you receive when you work with me is something more specific than that, more practical, and honestly more powerful because of it. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what channeling is, what a written channeled message actually delivers, and how to know if it's the right tool for what you're sitting with right now. If you don't know me, I'm Heather, an energy healer and channel with Divine Ascension Company. So let's get into it. Let's start with some distinctions that actually matter because the word channeling gets used to mean a lot of different things, and I want to be precise about what I'm talking about. A psychic reads energy. They're perceiving the field around you, your past, your present trajectory, the energetic patterns that are active in your life. It's perception based. A medium communicates with those people who have passed on. They're bridging the gap between the physical and non physical consciousness. Between both of these, they're each real and valid. They're just not exactly what I do for this kind of a session. A channel is a conduit. I'm not reading your energy from the outside. I'm not translating messages from departed loved ones. What I do is open to a specific field: your Akashic Records, your guides, your higher self, and source, and allow the information that lives there to move through me and into language. Think of it like the difference between looking at a house from outside and actually going inside. A psychic reads the exterior, where a channel actually goes in. So, where does this information come from? Depending on the session and what you need, I could be accessing your Akashic Records, which are essentially the complete energetic record of your soul's journey across all lifetimes. I may be connecting with your guides, the non physical beings specifically assigned to support you on your path. I may be accessing your higher self, the part of your consciousness that exists above the limitations of your human perspective and actually has full clarity on why you're here and what you're moving through. And sometimes Source itself speaks through me, the broader field of consciousness, that web of consciousness that underlies and connects everything. How does my channeling work specifically? Well, I enter a state that I described as expanded awareness, not a trance where I lose consciousness, but a shift in the quality of my perception where the ordinary mental chatter gets quiet and I become available to receive the information. I then translate what I receive into language. This is exactly one of the more nuanced parts of channeling, that translation layer. The information doesn't always arrive in words. Sometimes it comes in knowing, sometimes images, or just a feeling as a direct transmission that then has to be rendered into language accurately. That translation is a skill that I've developed over years, and it's what makes the difference between a vague spiritual feeling and a message that you can actually use. And here's the most important thing that I want you to understand about channeling: it's not about predicting the future, it's about accessing what's already true. The information in your records, in your guides knowing, in your higher self, it's already there. It already exists. You already know it on some level. What channeling does is it brings it through the veil of human consciousness and into a form that you can consciously access and work with. The future isn't fixed, and I won't pretend that it is, but the truth of who you are, why you're here, what's underneath the pattern that you're stuck in, what your soul actually needs right now, that's not a prediction, that's access. Okay, so that's what channeling is. Now let's talk about the specific offering that I'm talking about today. It's the written channeled message, because the format matters and it's worth understanding why I offer it this way. Here's how it works. You'll come to me with a question, something specific that you've been sitting with, a decision you're navigating, a pattern that you can't seem to shift, a relationship you need clarity on, something about your purpose or your path that feels unclear. You'll submit that question. I access your field with your permission, of course, and you receive a written response, channeled directly from whatever source is most relevant to your question. What kinds of questions work well with this session? Specific, open-ended questions tend to get the most useful responses. For example, what do I need to understand about why I keep attracting this pattern in my relationships? What is my resistance to moving forward with this career change actually all about? What does my higher self want me to know about this decision that I'm facing? Questions like that are genuinely asking for understanding rather than confirmation of what you've already decided. Questions like that don't Questions that don't work well are yes or no questions, questions about specific dates and timelines, questions asking me to make your decision for you. I won't do that. Channeling illuminates, it doesn't choose for you, and it doesn't operate on the same relationship with linear time that your human mind does. What does the written format make possible that a live call doesn't? Well, there's a few things. First, you can read it multiple times. And this matters more than most people realize because channeled information often lands in layers. The first time you read it, you might get the surface of it. The third time you read it, something deeper might open up. You notice a sentence that you skimmed the first time and realize it's the most important thing in the whole message. Written format lets you return to it whenever you need to. Second, there's no performance pressure. In a live session, there's a natural human tendency to respond in the moment, to react, to filter what you're hearing through whatever emotional state that you're in at that moment. With a written message, you can read it when you're calm, when you're ready, when you're in a space where you can actually receive it. Third, it becomes a reference point. Clients bring these messages back to me months later, sometimes even days later, and they tell me, I didn't understand this part when I first received it. And then a little while later, exactly what you described happened, and it made sense. The written message exists in time in a way that a conversation just can't. So, what do people typically receive? Well, I won't share specific client details, but I can tell you the themes. Clarity on a pattern that's been running below conscious awareness, why it started, what it's been protecting, what it actually needs. Validation of something they already sensed but couldn't quite articulate or trust. A reframe that shifts the entire way that they've been looking at a situation. Specific guidance on a next step that feels right in their bones the moment they read it. And sometimes a challenge to something that they thought they wanted, delivered in a way that's honest, but never unkind. And the most common response that I hear after someone reads their messages, some version of, I already knew this, I just needed to hear it. That's not a failure of the channeling. That's the channeling working exactly as it should. Your higher self already knows. The guides already know. The information already exists in your field. What the message does is it brings it through clearly enough that your conscious mind can finally receive it, trust it, and then act upon it. So how do you know if this is the right tool for what you're navigating right now? You have a specific question that you've been sitting with, not a general, tell me everything about my life, but a specific thing, a decision, a pattern, a relationship, a block, something that has enough shape that you can actually form a question around it. If you've been circling something for weeks or months or maybe even years and you just can't get clear, that's usually a sign that the answer needs to come from a different level than just your thinking mind can access. You want something to return to, not just a conversation. If what you need is to talk it through, to process it out loud, to have someone reflect things back to you in real time, well, that's a coaching conversation or a live session. But if you want something that you can hold, return to, and sit with it over time, the written format will serve you better. You're ready for an answer, even if it challenges what you expected. Now, this one matters. Channeling tells the truth. It's delivered with care, always, but it doesn't tell you what you want to hear if what you want to hear isn't actually true. If you're looking for a validation of a decision that you've already made, or you're not open to being redirected, A channeled message might not be the right timing. But if you're genuinely asking, if you actually want to know, then this is the tool. Now, how does this offer differ from an Akashic Records live session? Great question, because I offer both, but they serve different purposes. A written channeled message is focused clarity, one question, deep but targeted. You get a written response that you can return to. It's the right choice when you have a specific thing that you need illuminated and you want something tangible to hold on to. An Akashic Records live session is more depth. We go into your records together in real time. We can follow threads, ask follow-up questions, go wherever the session needs to go. It's more expansive, more exploratory, and happens in conversation. It's the right choice when you need a broader look at your path, your patterns, or your soul's history and purpose. Different tools, different moments, but each powerful in their own right. If you've been sitting with a question, if there's something that you've been circling that your thinking mind just can't crack, this is how you get an answer. A written channeled message. You submit your question, I access your field, you receive a written response channeled directly from whatever source is most relevant to what you're asking. Something you can return to, something that tells the truth. I'll put the link in the description so you can schedule a session if you feel like you're ready for this. If you have a question, this is how you get an answer. And if you found this video useful, subscribe. I put out weekly content on channeling, energy work, spiritual tools, and what it actually looks like to live a life guided by something deeper than your thinking mind. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.